In most election years for presidential candidates having a good showing in the Michigan primary, it's a really big deal because it may have hidden meanings for the general election, and which candidates have an opportunity to win 15 electoral college votes. But this year's contest, held this past week, was rather odd as the principal candidates, Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, really had no opposition whatsoever. But so you got to peel back the statistics and the numbers to demonstrate whether there was a strength or an exposed weakness. Nancy, Joe Biden earned a healthy 81% of Democratic votes, 612,000 some, but there were almost 100,000 votes represented primarily by the Arab American and Muslim communities that voted uncommitted. And as many report, this is an area of weakness that might be shaping up for the current president. What's your thoughts?
Well, Michigan is unique, I think, in that it has that category of uncommitted. I mean, my reaction would be, why bother if you're not going to vote for this? There may have been other things on the ballot in Michigan. There were some local issues that may have brought people out to vote. Their turnout, I looked at the statistics. There are about a little over 8 million registered voters in the state of Michigan. Both parties were at about 1 million. So the turnout was around, I think the Democrats' numbers were lower than the Republicans. The turnout was about a little below or around 20% for primary. That's pretty typical, and that's disappointing in that, that's where decisions get made, but not this year. There was really nothing on the ballot on the presidential level to argue about except to make a statement. Some people, of course, on the Republican side don't like Trump. They got a chance to say that. And some people on the Democratic side are ticked off about national policies. The real question is, what does that translate into in the general election? And I don't think it says much. Let's hope the turnout is better for the general election. Last time around, Michigan was pretty good. They had something like a 70% turnout rate. That's great compared to us in Maryland. So we'll see what the ultimate numbers will be come the fall. So I don't think it's for much of anything.
Yeah, well, I think your point as to maybe the lack of enthusiasm is quite revealing, because only about 800,000 voters came out on the Democratic side. There's a lot of, Michigan is a blue state. So does that show a weakness, not only because 100,000 voted against President Biden, or does it show a lack of enthusiasm for Joe Biden overall?
I think it says to us they didn't have much of a choice, and they've got better things to do.
Okay.
I think the primary season is pretty much a snooze across the country because it's already predetermined who the candidates in the general election are going to be. And I think it's going to be interesting for Maryland. Are people going to show up? Because at least there's a senatorial debate on the Democratic side. But again, otherwise, it's a thing to do. But it's not going to make any big decisions for the party going forward on either side.
Okay, well, let's talk about Stacey. Former President Trump received 68% of the vote, and challenger Nikki Haley earned 26% of the vote. Does that show that there's still a considerable division in the Republican Party?
No, I actually think that while Haley's number is somewhat respectable considering what we might have expected, she's out of runway, and it's clear she's not going to be able to win. But if giving the voters a choice on Super Tuesday is what she wants to do, then go for it, girl. I was a little bit disappointed that it was called so soon. I turned on the TV at 7 o'clock on the 28th, and it was like they had already called the race. And getting back to the point about the committeds, I think Michigan is not necessarily like you say, it's blue, but it has a swing. And we're seeing this, I think, that neither party can afford to lose those votes, in my opinion, after the results that just came out, especially the Democrats. If you do the simple math, you had like 1.8 million votes cast And I think that on the Republican side, it was like something like 1.14 million going to Trump with 786,000 plus going to Biden. So you have a 300 and some thousand vote deficit for Biden and for the Democrats. And so what's Biden going to do? And if it boils down to what's going on in the Middle East, Netanyahu is unrelenting in his mission until he wipes out Hamas and gets the hostages back. So they're going to have to work around the fringes on that, but sadly there will be more loss of life, and it will make Biden's hands look bloody.
Let's talk about the Republican side. I mean, President Trump has some vulnerabilities, obviously, and there is a large portion of the Republican base that didn't vote for President Trump in 2020, aren't likely to vote for President Trump in this election, and so it's not an easy path for President Trump. He still has multiple lawsuits that are out there that could impact the election. And there are those that say that if President Trump is convicted of a crime, they will not vote for him. So how do Republicans go forward with all of those things considered?
So from the inside, looking at this, we are moving forward as if Trump is going to be the nominee and coalescing around support for him. There are going to be people out there that are going to sit on their hands if he gets convicted. We know that. But if you look at his numbers by comparison to Biden's in Michigan, that may foretell that even if we lose a certain number of people based on convictions, it will still be his race to lose.
Well, he can't win without independence. That's for sure. What I've thought fascinating, and this, everybody's trying to read tea leaves, right? Is just, I thought there was a little more enthusiasm on the Republican side than on the Democratic side. And that may be just because they're not the party in power. But, it's fascinating to watch. I can't wait to see what happens here in Maryland. Maybe, everything will be, done and buried and nobody will come out. But I think that Senate race is going to bring out people on both sides because of the Democratic side and the entrance of Hogan on the Republican side.